Hi, this is Doug Ward from Tech Britain. We're at the Wayra space in London, here with the director, Simon, of Europe. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Simon, can we talk about your background first?
Yeah. I'm about 198, quite a long background. Formerly a marketeer, worked on a multitude of different brands, primarily on the agency side of things. I went client side in 2000 at the start of the dot-com boom to work for Yale.com, where I was for 5 years. And when I left there, I joined an internet startup business that's now quite well known. It's called Zopa.com. It's the world's first online lending and borrowing exchange. For me, it's still a very important play because it's all about that collaborative consumption and really disruptive play of otherwise traditional businesses. Ultimately, ended up working with Virgin and was then at O2 for 5 years, where I ran the B2B division, really specialising in the small business area. Been a passionate advocate of small business for many, many years. And in addition to having the privilege of running the best part of £1 billion worth of business for O2 Telefonica, also I've been involved in 6 startups, 3 of which are in multi-million revenues. I've been a long-standing, passionate champion of the small business sector, and so just thrilled to be a part of Wayra and what it's doing.
So for our viewers out there who've yet to come across Wayra, can we explain what it is?
Yes, so Wayra is the business incubation facility of Telefonica, which is the global telecommunications company originating from Spain. It was formed originally by a gentleman called Jose Maria Alvarez Pérez, and he ran the Latin American division of Telefonica. Jose Maria moved to Europe relatively recently to run Telefonica's commercial interests in this area geographically, and he and the global Wayra team asked if I would help them to bring Wayra from LATAM to Europe. So what it is basically a business accelerator. We provide accommodation.
And this space is awesome. It's
pretty good, isn't it? Pretty cool. So we give our startups between, minimum of 6 months, up to possibly a year. We give them the best coaching and mentoring that you can imagine. This morning we had Michael Acton-Smith, CEO and founder of Nine Candy, in today to share his learning and experience and knowledge with our projects, which is amazing. We give them some cash injection up to €50,000, and we give them potentially fast-track access to Telefonica's 300 million customers globally. All of the spaces follow the same formula, so we've used the same architects globally. You can go into any one of our 10 academies across the world, and they all have this look and feel to them. They're all slightly unique. They're designed specifically to make the best of the environment in which they're located. We're in the heart of the West End. We've designed this facility to create fantastic collaborative workspaces that really help to drive sharing and knowledge transfer between the projects, while simultaneously giving each of the projects a sense of their own individual space that's private to them.
I must commend you. It is a fantastic space, I should say again. Somebody's looking at this and thinking, how do I get involved? What is the best way to try and get into the Wayra?
Well, there's 2 things. I think 2 or 3 things. So obviously the primary one is that we have a call out, which is our competition. So this is our X Factor. There's an online application process that people have to apply for. And then we go through a formalised judging process, which ultimately concludes with the Wayra Week, which is our term for a 3-day event. Doesn't sound so good, the Wayra 3 days, but anyway, where we invite the final projects, to pitch and select those that are successful to join us here in the facility. We've just closed the London call out, but we have, and we've just closed the Dublin call out as well. Our current call is live in Munich at the moment. And those obviously come up every 6 to 12 months or so. There'll be a new call. So that's the formalised route. But informally, I'd request and advise anybody who's interested in this kind of opportunity to follow us, follow @Wayra on Twitter, follow the Wayra for each individual country. So for London, it's @Wayra UK, and follow some of the key members of staff as well. We're often out and about. Which leads to my third point, which is I'm not especially obsessed about Twitter, but I am obsessed about the power of entrepreneurs and startups, young businesses and small businesses in particular, networking. So much now is dependent on their ability to collaborate, share, learn, and just find opportunities from their peers. And Twitter has proven for us to be an amazing tool to enable that. And so I'd advocate anybody who's interested in being part of Wayra eventually to just go to all the venues and places we go to. We tweet prolifically wherever we're out and about. Come and meet us and have a chat, and meet not just the Wayra team, but also your fellow peers and entrepreneurs, because what you learn from them will ultimately make all the difference in your success.
I mean, first of all, I should say thank you very much for your time. I mean, we just literally met in the kitchen.
Yeah, thank you for your interest.
Yeah, I was speaking to Simon, and I thought you were one of the companies here, and it just quickly jumped on the camera. In terms of the future of the UK, I'd like to ask you, what do you see for UK entrepreneurs?
So for me right now, the small business space is quite polarised. I don't think that we're in a recession anymore. I think we are genuinely in a crisis. I think we are seeing the economy that I grew up with just sort of disintegrate. I think that's quite a traumatic thing for a lot of people. I think that it's interesting, on the one side, so I'm talking about it being polarised, listening to somebody like Michael Acton-Smith, who is a fantastically famous, fantastically successful entrepreneur. His business is worth hundreds of millions of pounds. He has more than 60 million users actively using his products and services. From his perspective, he quite clearly says, there has never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. So I get that. Equally, on the other side of the coin, there are a number of people who are fighting for survival right now, who are suffering the consequence of austerity measures and finding the challenge of generating business, ever more difficult. And I think, that's a difficult thing. I talk to all types of businesses daily. I had a conversation over the last 3 days with a guy who I only know because he's cut down 2 trees in my small garden in the west of London. And the reason that we had a conversation is because he linked to me on LinkedIn. And I thought it was quite notable for a tree surgeon to link to me on LinkedIn. He's got a distinctive name, his company's distinctively branded. But what struck me about the linkage on LinkedIn is that I was only the second person he'd linked to. And so I sort of suggested to him, is there anything I could do that might help him to get to grips with all of this? And we shared a number of thoughts and ideas about how he could use LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter to more actively promote his business and who that might reach. And the outcome of that is that he was hugely energised and very optimistic about his possibilities. The reality is that we often think that digital business affects only new innovation. The truth is that the digital opportunity, I think, is something that could be embraced by virtually all businesses, all business people and all entrepreneurs. The challenge is doing it. And I think for many people this is not just a mind shift, it's also a very practical issue of how do I afford it, how do I make the time to learn it. And to them I just say, look, if I can learn Twitter, anybody can. I recognise that this technology doesn't always come cheaply, but the flip side is that Twitter can enable you to reach thousands of people at virtually no cost, whereas traditional advertising, obviously, they will be very familiar with, is very expensive. I think that the new technology gives you an agility that you can be the master of. This isn't about having to connect at 11 o'clock at night. This is about being able to do things real time that are genuinely stimulating and interesting to the people who you might be able to do business with. So going back to my tree surgeon friend, to take before and after shots of his work and tweet it, to tweet to the followers of his customers and link with them in more meaningful ways, to use his iPhone to capture video testimonials from customers, which his prospects will find probably more reassuring than anything that they're going to read in an advert from him. These are the kinds of meaningful things that I think everyday businesses can do, and I think that people in the Wayra Academy are taking that to another dimension again, and that's what's so exciting, because what we can see is the new digital economy is growing ever quicker. What we hope to do with Wayra is to materialise that now.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of UK tech entrepreneurs, specifically tech, do you think they are best placed to stay in the UK right now? We speak to some people on our travels who literally are just getting on a plane and going to the West Coast. What do you think is the best thing?
It was interesting to hear Michael Acton Smith this morning speak about his observations about the dominance of one area in the world and the role it plays. In some ways it's a good thing, in others, some of us see it as a bit of a shame. And that talent does need to migrate there. So I think one of the catalysts for Wayra was Jose Maria saw the consequence of the brain drain in areas of Latin America, where economies were once struggling, that talent felt it had no choice but to fly to the West Coast. Now what's interesting is that in certain parts of Latin America, their economies are some of the most progressive in the world. So whilst we are suffering in Europe with, stagnant growth and possibly decline, Brazil this year is likely to achieve something in the order of 5% GDP growth, which is amazing. So now, if I were an entrepreneur in that region, I'd be staying put and exploiting the economic stimulation that's happening there. So Jose Maria described Wayra as creating Silicon Valleys all around the world, not only to give that talent an opportunity to stay, but also because all of us are curious to see what happens when you foster that talent indigenously. Perhaps a social network born in Peru might be of a completely different flavour to any kind of social network that we've seen before. And maybe it's just a little bit better as a result of that. Who knows? So I think that clearly places like Silicon Valley or Tel Aviv are going to become meccas for, it's probably not the right term, but you understand, magnets for talent, and I understand that. But I hope that accelerators, and Wayra isn't the only accelerator in London, for instance, that between us we can create our own ecosystem that is able to create an equivalent, if not better, opportunity by harnessing the power of that talent locally.
Fantastic to hear. Very interesting times, and we're all about bringing the UK together and being able to compete on an international scale. Like you're saying, the Brazils, the Russia, India, China, they're flying at the moment. It's very important that things like this exist, and it's just very refreshing to know it does. It's
a privilege to be a part of what's happening here. The talent in this room is amazing. And sometimes when you speak to people of such extraordinary capability and skill and talent, to then be able to almost sort of gift them this opportunity of being part of this, it's just an amazing thing to do. I've no doubt that these people are very successful. I hope that they're successful in the short period of time in which they are with us within Wayra. Who knows? Some of them are going to fail. Clearly, at such early stage startups, it's a difficult journey, and historically the failure rates at that level have been quite high. But about the talent, I've no doubt that they'll learn immeasurably from this experience, and I am sure that it will only accelerate their potential moving forward. And who knows, maybe we'll catch them the second time around. But I think they're all amazing people. So come and meet them. And to anybody that's sort of interested in doing this, I would actively encourage them to go for it. Don't be at that time.
Awesome. Real pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Thanks for all your time and interest. Take care.